Hey guys, Jim Nix, how you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Hello, and I am sitting here working on a photo, and this was shot in Nashville, Tennessee. This is Lower Broadway Avenue. It's basically full of country bars. There's great neon signs. It's really a lot of fun to shoot. And this is the very end of it. The river's sort of behind me, and this is looking up sort of towards the city and towards sort of their main drag. Anyway, I've shot there many times, having visited Nashville a lot of times. And I always love it. I always go here and always shoot. And sometimes I come back with shots I love, and sometimes I come back with shots that are kind of like, meh, kind of just not super exciting. And this is one of those. I looked at it, and I like the idea of the photo. I like the sort of the lines. You can sort of like in here, I guess I can't point at my screen because you won't know what I'm pointing at. The lines of the traffic. I like sort of the cars coming, and I like some of the neon signs. And, it was just past sunset, kind of blue hour, but a lot of these street lights here giving off this kind of yellow-green glow. And the truth is, the photo just looks kind of boring. So I thought I would just kind of jack around with it a little while and see what I came up with. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start out with a preset. And let me see which one it is. I'm going to go into my Movable Feast preset pack. And I'm going to get this Les Deux Magots, which was created for and named after a cafe in Paris. So there it is, and boom, like that's a lot of color. That's the first thing I noticed. It's a lot more vibrant than it was. Let me show you, but it's a little overdone. So we're going to work on that. I'm going to add a couple of additional filters here, however. So let me do that. I need top and bottom lighting, and I need structure. There we go. So top and bottom lighting. I'm going to bump up the brightness in the bottom here. There we go. I just want to brighten that up a little bit. And I'm going to bump up the structure quite a bit. However, I don't really want that in the sky so much. So if you haven't done this trick, you can do filter masking. So instead of doing a layer and masking the entire layer, you can actually just mask a filter individually. So you just click on the brush, and then you click on the filter that you want to mask. And then just get your brush the right size and opacity, which I'm doing now. And then you just basically come in here and just sort of paint that filter onto the photo. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And here we go. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Just kind of running over this real quick. Let me see what I got, if I got close. Yeah, missed a few spots, of course. Always do. So here we go. I'm having a little problem with my mouse. I got a new MacBook. My other one died, and this MacBook Pro, I don't know how many times I've screwed with the settings on the trackpad, but I can't get it to be just the way I want it. So if my mouse looks a little jittery, it's not my fault. It's the Mac's fault. Anyway, I'm working through it. It's just a little different than my previous MacBook Pro. So there we go. That is a filter mask. And let me get out of that, go back to hand mode. So before and after, right? So I think it's looking better. I brought up a little bit of that there. But the next thing I would do is crop it. So this was shot a few years ago with my Micro Four Thirds camera. It was an Olympus that I used to shoot. And there's a lot of great things about that camera system. Anyway, one of them is that the Micro Four Thirds it's a 4/3 aspect ratio. So it's 4 across and 3 down. So it's kind of almost a square. And that works on a lot of photos, and other photos it doesn't. And this one I'm kind of going more for the wide view, so that's why I cropped it. I wanted to crop out some of that bottom because it was kind of useless. Let me show you what it looked like. Right, it was this little crosswalk here and stuff. I just didn't care about that. So got the crop done, and we're done with that. Now I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to fix a couple of the color things here. So let me do that. I've got color temp, and I want color balance. And I want exposure, and I want saturation and vibrance. I need to take that down a little bit. So I'm going to mess with these filters here. Let me go do this. I'm going to go a little bit bluer if I can get my mouse to work. See what I mean? There we go. I got to grab it just right. Something like that. I'm looking at my notes here. I think that's about right. I'm going to mess with the shadows a little bit. So let me do that. Something like that. And that, and that. So that looks a lot different. If you're not using color balance, let me show you the before and after. It's huge, right? So I'm a huge fan of color balance, and I'll be talking about that in a future video. I think I'll I'll cover that because I've had some questions and I use it a lot. So now I'm brightening the photo, and I'm just going to take the saturation down. It's just a little too saturated and vibrant. That looks a little bit more realistic to me. Let me show you. Well, actually, let me just turn this layer off. There you go. See, still too orange. I like the preset. It got me to a good starting point, and that's really what I use presets for. It's kind of a place to start from, but then I tend to adjust them. And then after adjusting the preset with these other filters, I like that better. The thing I don't really like is the sky. It was boring, right? So it was blue hour, which is great, but I don't want blue hour. So I figured I would go in, and I'm going to pop a new sky on this one. And there you go. This is a nighttime sky. So this is going to be art. This is completely unrealistic. I'll be the first to admit that. I'm not trying to pass this off as, hey, Jim shot the Milky Way over Nashville, because with city lights and stuff, that's going to be really hard to do, and I didn't do it. I'm creating this here in the digital darkroom. So I thought it would be interesting, though, because this isn't a very clean horizon. It's a complete mess. If you look at the shape of the horizon, as it goes along here with the shapes of the buildings, I'm going to clean it up some. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to look better than it does now. As you can see here with the gradient filter, it's dragging the night sky on top of the buildings, and we can't have that, right? So I'm going to hit apply, and then with that layer, you go in and grab the brush, and then I'm going to get the eraser, and the opacity is at 100%, so I'm going to just adjust my brush size a little bit, and I'm going to go in here and do some erasing, if I can get my mouse to agree with me. See what I mean? I just got to go slow. There we go. So here we go. Come on. There we go. Yeah, okay. So that looks a little bit better. And again, I'm not going to do this perfectly, but that's the beauty of the gradient mask. And by the way, if you noticed, I came in at an angle from this edge of the sky or the frame, because I wanted to sort of slant it in. You can see the sun is setting here, so generally it's going to be a little bit lighter in this part of the photo anyway. So I slanted in the gradient mask for the night sky, which to me makes it a bit more realistic. Over here is where it gets a little tricky with the new night sky because of the shape of the building, and I'm sort of cleaning up right up in here, getting some of those dots out. But I can't even see this stuff. So here's what I usually do. I just turn off this layer, and I'm going to look, and I'm going to say, okay, right along this line, it pretty much goes straight up and then sort of cuts over. So there we go. I got kind of a visual. I'm going to come in here, do a little painting or erasing technically, and try to clean that up. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. I'm going to shrink that mouse a little bit. There we go. And if you need to, you can just change it to brush. Here's the thing, because it's a gradient mask is basically 100% at the top, and it's a gradient, so it decreases in opacity. So if you're repainting here, just be careful what opacity level you're at. If I do 100% opacity over here, it's going to be dark like this portion of the photo, and I don't want that down here. So you got to check your when you're using a gradient, if you're going back in and painting, if you've erased too much like I did, you want to maybe check your opacity. So I think it's always better to reduce the opacity and sort of come in at a lower opacity level. Again, I'm sorry about the mouse stuff here. It's kind of driving me nuts. There we go. Okay, I'm going to come in here and just sort of paint this, and I'll just go over it a couple of times, and I think that's pretty good. Got that, and now I need to go erase a little bit. So again, I'm going to shrink it a little bit more. And the reason I'm showing this is because of all the work that's kind of going into just trying to get this edge looking believable. Again, it's photo art. This is clearly manipulation, but I still want it to be realistic. Like, I don't want it to be, so off the charts unrealistic that no one would look at it and believe it for a minute, right? I want it to be good enough to be kind of believable, even though, it's kind of obviously not believable. Does that make any sense? Maybe I'm just kind of yapping. So I think we're in pretty good shape. The only thing I would say now about the photo is this antenna tower is pretty close. It's literally like 2 blocks from where I'm standing. It might be better to erase something like that with either the erase tool, which I should have done that a while ago, because now I'll be erasing the night sky and stuff, which I don't want to do. Or use Snap Heal, which works great for that kind of stuff too. So I'm going to leave that, and then there's just a couple other adjustments I would do. I would add a new layer, and I would come in and I'm going to add a vignette and a little bit of top and bottom lighting again. So I want to brighten up a little bit more of this foreground here. So I'm just going to do bottom like that, just a little bit, because I want to pick up some of the lightness there, and then I'm going to add a vignette. So go get my mouse to work. Here we go. And one of the beauties of adding a vignette here is it covers up some of that sort of painting, if you will, or lack thereof it, around some of these things. There's like these little, stovepipe sort of things sticking up at the top of the building. I didn't worry about that. I didn't worry about the antenna. If you wanted to, you could spend all kinds of time going in between here. Not worth it to me. This is purely for fun, and I thought it might be an interesting video. I don't know if I'm right about that, but there you go. So I think I would do something like that, and I like the vignette there. Let me show you the before and after. Compare. Here we go. Compare it. There we go. So the before, pretty flat photo, pretty boring, kind of greenish yellow city lights. And if you remember, the crop didn't look that well, so I tightened that up a little bit. And I think the after looks much better, much more interesting. You could try to pass it off as real, although if somebody's really into photography, I think they'd probably know that that night sky didn't come from that shot. But nonetheless, I like how it blends in. I like how the sunset is kind of over here. You can kind of tell that it's behind this hill, so it makes sense that it's a sort of a gradient there. And in this semi-short video, I did the best I can painting. I see I missed a couple spots there, but the point is, experiment, have fun, get creative. You can take shots that you probably thought were trash and turn them into something that's worth keeping in Luminar. So much flexibility, so much power, so much fun. That's Luminar for you. And that's a video. I hope it helps. If you have any questions, let me know. See you next time. Thanks again, folks. Adios.